A little bit more of an off-the-cuff video today. After playing over 150 hours of Delta Force over the past month, most of those being in Warfare, I thought I would rank the different maps that are on offer. Now unfortunately, maps in Warfare are kind of lacking, with only 5 currently being available. I'll be ranking each map twice, once for Attack and Defend, and the other for King of the Hill, as the playable area and overall enjoyment can vary wildly between the two modes. Starting off with Attack and Defend on Ascension. This is one of the first maps you could play during the closed alpha in August. For me, the only enjoyable part of this map on Attack and Defend is storming the beach to cap A and then fighting on B1 and B2. I absolutely loathe playing defense on this mode, by the way. I just find it incredibly boring. Even then, the B1 and B2 flags are a little bit too close together in my opinion. As for the rest, the actual Ascension is cool, but that's where the enjoyment ends for Charlie and Delta sector. There are simply too few points of entry to cap both C flags, and as for Delta, well, I think I've only seen attackers win a handful of times because the defenders can really dig into there like ticks. I think I'll need to put this map on D tier. Fewer players could be a good idea for Attack and Defend on Ascension, and it could bring the map up a little bit in terms of ranking. For King of the Hill on Ascension, I think the gameplay is vastly improved, especially for 64 players. There's a lot of fun to be had fighting on Charlie sector, while the flags that are more spread out on the outskirts of the map are easier to fight on in vehicles. The map itself could use a little more cover in certain areas, as vehicles can get pretty decent angles from the hills, especially in the uncap that is right beside A, which in and of itself is a problem that promotes campy vehicle gameplay. But I digress. One thing that I believe would be great for this map is including the mountain base in it. Ziplining up there to fight in that area would be fantastic. Overall a decent map that I would put into B tier. Moving on to Attack and Defend on Cracked. Overall I think Cracked is a fantastic map, but not so much on Attack and Defend. They went a little too restrictive with the playable area, and you can barely get good flanks off when moving onto the Bravo and Charlie sectors. If they could simply expand the playable area a bit on the right side of the map, it would be far better. The A point attack is just painful though. Having that flag split into 2 would also improve it. I think Attack and Defend on Cracked would have to go in B tier as well. King of the Hill on Cracked is a whole other story. Probably one of my favorite maps to play on, as you get really distinctive areas to fight in. Delta is more often than not dominated by vehicles, as is A1 and Charlie 1. As for the rest of the map, you can get some really good infantry gameplay, which is my preferred playstyle. I do have one very specific gripe about this map though, and that is the uncap on A side. That stupid hill that basically overlooks the entire map on which vehicles like to camp is awful. Having it be part of the uncap area means players on that team can simply sit up there and either snipe enemy vehicles easily without ever truly being in danger, or do absolutely nothing because they don't want to get destroyed. I also think the cap area for Bravo could be a little bit expanded, as it is really restrictive. You can't even be inside and cap that flag, so that would be awesome too. If those two areas were changed, it would be great. King of the Hill on Cracked goes into A tier for now. Alright, time for the most divisive map in Delta Force, Shafted. Starting with Attack and Defend. I think it is just a miserable experience. 64 players cramped into such a small area throwing smokes and explosives non-stop is horrible. A real meat grinder. I know that some people like this, but I prefer getting some good flanks off rather than beating my head against a wall of bullets. Unfortunately, Attack and Defend on Shafted goes into F tier. A few improvements that could drastically improve this would be to split A into 2 flags and reduce the player count. King of the Hill on Shafted, now that is a good time, albeit sometimes a pain in the ass. This map is very reminiscent of Operations Locker or Metro from Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. One of the reasons I like this map so much is the simplicity of it, and of course the infantry-only gameplay it offers. Getting a sweet flank feels so rewarding, and the ebb and flow of capping the enemy's back flags only to then need to go to your gimme flags is fantastic. The one thing I would change for this map on King of the Hill is reducing the amount of players from 64 to 48 or even 40. There's no reason they couldn't do this, as you re-queue after every game. I could understand if the lobby stayed the same and it just cycled through the maps, then yes, you would need to keep the player count equal across all maps. But that's not the case in Delta Force, which is why I wanted to mention the reduced player count. In any case, I would put Shafted in S tier. Now I know that might be an unpopular opinion, but it is loads of fun. Reduce the player count and it would be even better. Attack and Defend on Threshold. Now I haven't had the opportunity to play it that much on this game mode, but overall, I'm not a big fan. Too many players in such a small area with barely any flanking opportunities. A sector could benefit from being split into 2 flags, just like the layout on King of the Hill. Cramming so many players on a single flag always makes for a poor gameplay experience, at least in my opinion. As for the rest of the map on Attack and Defend, it's mostly forgettable, which is why I need to put it into D tier. King of the Hill on Threshold is far more enjoyable and would be even better if it wasn't for the needless choke point on Charlie, which often results in a standstill. unless you have a little bird pilot that is brave enough to fly teammates over the water retention wall, or whatever that is, into A or E. Then the flow improves substantially. If they were to open up more routes to move past Charlie, it would greatly benefit the map, and I would rate it much higher. Fighting on some of these flags like Echo flags or Alpha is truly fun. Same thing for Bravo, but as it stands, I can't put this map any higher than C tier. Almost done here, attack and defend on trench lines. At first I was having fun, but after playing it a few times, the whole start of this map is utter pain and suffering. A single flag to start, then the 2 flags in the trenches being bombarded by anything and everything constantly, it's an absolute mess. After those initial 2 sectors, I believe the gameplay improves quite a bit, but boy does that opener weigh the map down on this mode. I can't in good conscience put this any higher than D tier. And finally, King of the Hill on trench lines. Now that is a map if I've ever seen one. Not without its flaws, that's for sure, but a far cry from what it is on attack and defend. Playing in the trench lines with far less players at any given time can actually be fun. Who would have thought? It is also one of the biggest maps, at least I think so, and it can accommodate a lot of different playstyles. A few small changes could be made, most notably if you could destroy the wind turbine that people like to sit up on, it would be awesome and really add to this map, as that wind turbine is one of the landmarks of this map, and being able to knock it over would just be excellent. Overall, a good gameplay experience which grants it a place in A tier. So that'll do it for my Delta Force Warfare map tier list. Let me know what you thought about it. Give me your top maps or make your own tier list and share it in the comment section down below. I'd be glad to read all of your thoughts on all of the different maps and the game modes that they have to offer. I, for one, am sure looking forward to them releasing new maps in the near future. In any case, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.